See this old yogurt jar? This is what I keep my sponge chipping sponges in, and we have a problem. Now the sponge that I use most of the time is actually some packing material from a company called Harry and David. If you're familiar with them, they sell these. They ship fruit and chocolate baskets and nuts and things like that. What they're most famous for is they sell these pears that, if you've ever eaten canned pears that have the syrup and they're kind of if you're not familiar with it, if you're not I don't know if they have this in other parts of the world, but if you're not familiar with it, it sounds super sweet. It's not. It's just a light syrup that they pack them in, and they're just so good. When I was in the Army, I used to carry cans of those things in my rucksack because they were great. You could open them up, eat them, and then drink the juice, and it was just so sweet. And it was a nice treat when you're, sitting out in the woods and hadn't had a shower in 3 weeks. Just a nice kind of way to get away from it all for a few seconds. Anyway, Harry and David ships all these fruits, and they put this packing material on the top of the fruit boxes that they send. And this stuff has been the best stuff for using. Let me see, is that in focus? Hang on, let me focus on that. That may be in focus. Anyway, it is the best stuff. It's a soft consistency. It's got a really fine texture. It's just, I've tried lots of different sponges and material, but I finally thought, this is the one that I like. I think the thing I like about it the most is when I've used kitchen sponges, and I'm looking around my model desk, and I don't actually have one sitting on here right now that I see, but when I've used kitchen sponges, they tend to have a much bigger pores in them, and I always felt that they chipped a little bit out of scale for most model work. I mean, regardless of the scale, it just seemed to be a bit too big. Yeah, it works okay, but this stuff, because of the fine grain of that, I feel like I can do some really, really refined chipping and not go overboard if I want to. I rarely do that, but I usually go overboard with my chipping. But this packing material is so such a tight grain, very small pores, that it allows a lot more control, I think. So if you like really good pears and apples, certainly order something from Harry and David, and you'll get some of this. We get several boxes every Christmas. We have family members who send it to us, and we always look forward to that. And so I always grab out the shipping foam because I have this fear. I'm kind of a hoarder when it comes to modeling supplies. I have this fear that they're gonna quit making something. That's why I have so many bottles of Future, because a few years back, somebody said, "Oh, they're going to quit making it." And I literally went and bought off everything that was at my Walmart on their shelf, like 7 bottles, something like that. And yeah, I'm an idiot. But this stuff, it just comes with gift baskets. So, and I found out recently that the company that owns Harry and David also owns and I'm just getting into food here. They own another branch of whatever they own is something called Sherry's Berries. And they're famous for sending out these really great strawberries that they dip in chocolate and sprinkle all this stuff over and all of that. Well, I guess the company uses, because it's all under one umbrella, uses common suppliers. And I found out when you order something from Sherry's Berries, this stuff comes with it too. So guess what? I'm ordering now more and more as gifts for my wife. It works for, Valentine's, Mother's Day, birthday. Hey, a red Volkswagen drove by. And she finally caught on. She's like, "Hey, you always grab the foam out of that. You're not getting this for me. You're getting it for the foam." And I'm like, No, it's for you. Really. Anyway, what I do to cut it is quite simple. I get a fairly dull X-Acto knife. I could use a sharp one, but I'm lazy. And I just make a cut like that. And comes right apart. You don't have to go through multiple passes. You don't have to dig into your, whoops, you don't have to dig into your whatever this thing is called, the mat. I just go through and I just roughly cut out squares, generally squares. I don't worry about if it's not perfect squares, of course. But I go through and do this. And this stuff, it does have quite a bit of static electricity or whatever, static something. And it'll stick together. There have been times I finished a modeling session and would walk around and, you know, one of these things would be stuck to my forehead or something like that, and hilarity ensues. But I cut those pieces and I grab them and I throw them in my jar, and you see how they're sticking to the edge. That's all right. But I do that, you know, I'll do that 5 or 6 more times, fill it up, and then I won't have to do it again for several months. And I just keep them right literally out of camera range, because I'm constantly using them. I just reach in there and grab one, put it in my little forceps that I use for that. Here I've been working on the SAFS this morning, so that's where that is. Another observation, as long as I'm thinking about it and rambling on, this is one of those Led Zeppelin vlogs, you know, ramble on. I used to, because I heard people talk about doing it, people on the interwebs, and they would, you know, rough up the edge of the sponge. They'd cut little things and just make it a very rough edge. And I used to do that. And then I started doing it, trying it without it. And I found that it didn't really make that much of a difference in the pattern. Now, sometimes I'll clip off the squared edges if I want a smaller contact surface. I'll clip it like this, so that what's generally in contact is less surface area. But I found in my own experience, and yours may vary, but that roughing up this edge didn't seem to do a whole lot for it. What I found did make more of a difference was when I rarely smear this. It's go in, come out, go in, come out, like that. But touch it, come out, and then turn. Touch it, come out, turn. And just rotating it around a little bit is going to give you more variation than trying to cut up that piece of it. And then because it messes with the amount of contact surface you have, you sometimes have to push harder to get anything to happen, because you really don't have that much touching the model. So I found that I get more mileage out of turning it and also thinning my paint a little more. I've learned that thinning the paint a little bit is going to help with the chipping rather than doing it neat from the bottle. And so anyway, just some observations on these sponges, because I needed to refill them. But like I said, get you some pairs and get this Harry and David packing foam. It's great stuff.